This upside down so the people in Australia can read it.
Accidentally printed the whole thing out. Didn't want to bring my computer. I was gonna print out a couple of things.
So
There it is.
Diane, whenever we're all ready, we can start. We'll start with the countdown, then I'll hit. Let's go.
Okay, welcome everybody to this meeting of the Board of Library Trustees. We will call to order with a roll call.
Yeah, can we have Chair Delormier
Here,
and Vice Chair Petty,
Present.
Trustee Joshi,
Present.
Trustee Silvera,
Here.
and Trustee Moreau.
Here.
All are present. And then on the staff side, we have Library and Museums Director Edwards, Public Service Manager Kim Smith, and our team librarian, Andrea. I'll say
all right, well, welcome all. Thanks for being here. Now we will start with a presentation from Andrea.
well, so I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. And also, let me do this and hold on, Andrea, because what I would like to do is go in here and also see if I could share the screen, okay? And let's go. Okay, cool. And we move, so if this moves in here, give me just a minute, because then that's the way I can move this out.
Okay.
Hopefully that work.
Okay.
There we go. Great.
Okay, well, thank you for having me here to talk about this really important topic. Just a little background, I think I've been here for 2 years now. And in the beginning, I know there hasn't been like a teen librarian since, I think, probably
Okay.
since the pandemic. So I did have to start from scratch, making contacts with everyone, bringing in teens. And I think there has been like a major improvement. So first, I just wanted to talk about the teen programs that I currently have right now. I have the Teen Advisory Board. We have a reading buddy. This is a picture of one of my reading buddies with a regular kid that comes every week. So right now we have 3 teen reading buddies, and we get an average of 5 to 8 kids who sign up for a reading session every Wednesday. And then we have Teen Lounge, just like a gaming lounge, just for teens to come like after school and just play video games. We have a teen internship that also has, I just started the summer reading internship. And then I also do teen book reviews, and this is more for those who can't really come to the library and want to receive community service. So I do have that set up where they could submit book reviews. And then we also did start a spring Dungeons and Dragons for teens. And we got like an average of 10 teens. For that one, I was really impressed because we did get a lot of tweens, like tween boys that I usually don't see in other of my programs. So I feel like that was a major hit. So I wanted to talk more about the Teen Advisory Board. So the main goal to start up the Teen Advisory Board was to increase teen involvement and just to encourage tab. When I first started doing programs, I had an average of 5 to 8 teens participate in programs. And usually this was me going around the library and telling them, hey guys, there's a program going on. And then after tab, we now average around 20 to 40 teens that participate in programs. So as you can see, there's been an improvement. So this is why I really wanted to start it again, just to have that type of relationship with the teens. So next. So just a little bit more about tab. Right now, we currently have up to 10 teens who are involved in tab. Usually it's a little bit more, but right now these are my current teens who have been really involved and who have been coming to the meetings. We meet twice a month. And the main goal again is they plan and execute events. So they help with like making the flyers, outreach, program setup and takedown. So for example, this one, we just had this currently. It was last Wednesday where we made candy lays for the graduating class. And we had, I think this was our most successful one. We had up to 40 teens that came and they had such a great time doing it. And just again, hanging out with their friends too. And then some other programs we did this year, we did a Be Mind Bash where we did just like arts and craft for Valentine's Day. And we also partner up with the Monterey Bay Aquarium where we did algae pressing. And then here, again, this was something probably our major accomplishment this year. They also were involved in the NCIP proposal. And it's something that I really want them to continue getting involved of just doing more public speaking. It's really good practice for them and just also being part of that advocacy. So last year, they gained up to 157 hours of community service, which I'm sure this year they're most likely gonna beat that number. And then these are our future plans that we have been talking about. Right now, we're gonna go on break. We don't meet over the summer. So this is more for fall. So we do want to do like a craft activity led by teens for kids. Right now, we have been just focusing more on doing programs for teens, but we do want to share the love and also do some kid programs. They really want to do an after-hour program. I think just kind of the mystery, like after, you know, when the library closes, they just want to have the whole library to themselves and do a movie night. One of my tab members had told me they want to do a movie night where they just dress up in their pajamas and have like kind of like a sleepover. They want to feel like kids again. So that's something that we're thinking about. And then a teen book club. I really want to start this as well. And I want one of my teens to lead it. So I'm hoping that's something that will happen in the near future. And then again, more community service events. I think we're all really big on the community service events just because a lot of my tab members I met through those events. And most of the time, I'm in contact with Monterey High School and other schools as well. But that's always the biggest issue, just finding places to receive community service hours. And I feel like it's so easy here to do some type of event where they could just come right after school and not have to deal with any type of transportation. It's a lot more accessible. So this is something that we want to continue doing. And this is something else I'm really proud of is the teen internship. So again, with Monterey High School, they do have a requirement of up to 40 to 80 hours of internship credit. And I have been in contact with some of the teachers, so they have been sending me students who are interested in doing some type of internship work here. I think so far I've had like 3 interns since I started. The first intern that was introduced to me, she started volunteering here and she helped with social media and also was part of TAB. So again, it's just very accessible for them to come like right after school and then also to getting to know the library. I think afterwards she was very surprised of all the things that we have to offer. So yeah, it's usually a lot of like shadowing as well. We did have an intern who did shadow a few of our meetings earlier this year. And now we have our summer reading internship program. This is something that I'm working with Sarah. And I had pitched the idea because again, a lot of the internship requirement, they need it for the summer only. So, and it made sense. We always need a lot of volunteers for summer reading. So we're like, why don't we just do an internship program? So we were able to do the whole application process and we were able to recruit up to 10 interns this summer. They're going to be starting next week and we're really excited. So they're going to be responsible to register participants, giving out the prizes. They're also going to be shadowing programs. Usually we need a lot of help during programs, just setting up everything. And they're just going to be the face of summer reading. So they're really, we did tell them that they're going to be on social media. So they're aware of it. And I feel like they always have like the best idea too. Yeah. But yeah, this has been something that again, we have to work from scratch. It was a lot of work, but Sarah and I are really, really excited about this. And again, this is our first year doing it. So we are going to make sure that we receive some type of feedback, obviously do like a survey or something, because we want to hear, you know, how we could keep on improving, because we want to continue this. I know this is very wordy, so I'm not gonna read everything. I just wanted to show that this is specifically the teen area, another very hot topic in my teen advisory board meeting. We talk about just ways of how we can improve the like teen area or what I could do to also improve their lives or, make it easier for them. And also I want more teens coming in. Like I want to know why aren't teens coming to the library? The most, again, just to summarize everything, it's the space and a lot of times it's the computers that are in there because of the adults that are, and it's not just adults. I mean, I know teens like use the computers too, but it's mostly adults and it just doesn't feel like an area for teens. So that's one thing. And another, again, I guess they just want more color because they're always like at the kids area. They're always telling me like, why does the kids get all the color, all the stuff? So yeah, one thing about teens, like they love color and they're always telling me like, get bean bags, get like lights, get all of this. So they just wanted to feel a lot more welcoming. And at the moment, it's not. So that's something I really want to try to improve. And I've just been collecting all these, and these are comments straight from that they had emailed me. So I just want to keep collecting all this feedback and hopefully in the near future, again, really work on this because I just want to make sure it's a very welcoming space where they feel safe as well. Because there's been comments again where they don't feel safe. They would rather go to a coffee shop. So, and that's something, that I feel like we should all be aware of and we should make a change. Especially again, like if I think the main goal is to bring them in, and if there's not a adequate space for them, we're not gonna see them around here. And then these are just future projects that I personally want to work on and improve on as well. I notice again, the teen books usually like from all the other collections don't have the same like circulation stats from all the other collection. I think it's well known that teens are not really reading. And that's something also that I really want to focus on. Right now, from what I've noticed, a lot of the books that are usually checked out are the older, like YA dystopian books, the really popular books, and or books that are like highlighted like through social media. So I notice those are currently always out, or if they hear from their friends. But I usually don't see like all the other newer books like really aren't very well known, or I'm not sure what really the issue is. But something I've just been noticing, and I want to create some type of list where I'm just highlighting more of those new books, either if I could do, again, starting a book club that highlights a lot of the newer books that are being published, and just try to really push that as well. Like I understand a lot of the times the teens don't have the time, or I actually have a tab member. This is gonna be a big surprise, who loves coming here. He does a lot for tab, but he doesn't read. And my main goal, my main goal before he graduates is to make him read one book. So I'm really hoping that really does happen, and it will happen. It will happen. I just need we're getting there. But yeah, I really just want to keep pushing that as well because with my tab members, I also recommend books or I try to talk to them about books. So that's something I really want to continue to really focus on. The next thing I really want to also work on is connecting with more local schools. Right now, I feel like I finally have a really good standing with Monterey High School. I have a good contact with the teachers, with the administration. I've been able to do presentations. The candy lays that we made, I was able to go to school and drop them off there and hand them out. And the teens were very appreciative. But I also want to do that with other schools. So I really want to focus maybe like on York or Stevenson and just really try to also like middle schools and just again spread more of that love. So that's something that I do want to work on for the next couple of months. And then I want to connect more with teens. So again, I think I really have a good relationship with a lot of teens here. But I want to bring in more teens from different schools. Right now, my tab, we did have different teens from different schools, but I think a majority of them are from Monterey High School. And we do have one, she's in middle school, she goes to Pacific Grove Middle School. So again, I want to connect with other teens as well, who lives locally. And just build that relationship with them. Like I want them to come in and just know my name and know that they could come talk to me. And then next thing is I want to start a zine library. For those who don't know what zines are, they're just like mini magazines, and I want to have that in the teen area. Again, I want to do something interactive, which is why, again, the teen area, I think we need to create more space to have activities such as this. And then for them, I know most of the time sometimes they're doing homework or they just need a little distraction. I feel like this would be something that would be appreciated.
Are they a physical thing or not, digital?
It would be physical.
Okay.
Mhm. And that is all. So thank you. Anybody has any questions?
I just had a question and a comment about the space of the teens.
Okay.
Can you restrict the computers over there for just the teens? Can you do that, or they have to be open to everybody? Cause,
I think-
right, so you have a
yeah.
couple public access computers over there, and then there are some over here, right?
Well,
Um,
no, the majority of the computers are there, and I think there's one in the children's and then one, the standing one by the self-help desk. So I think
So
it would be hard just because then we'll be limiting the computers for like the
Right.
public, and that's something I don't want to do. I think my main goal is just moving the computers.
yeah, I was gonna say, if you move them
Yeah.
more into the teen section, maybe they'll look like them or the teens, cause
Well-
right now they're kind of like in the middle.
So what I would add on there too, just so I know, and Andrea and I've talked about this, and I've talked about it with Kim and Melissa, and I'd put it in kind of my goal, which I think for fiscal year and the next fiscal year would be to actually spend some more money on that site. Is we have to think about it because it's like a domino effect of like with like moving one area to the next. And you may recall when we moved the children's area shelving, a lot of the adult computers were actually in the children's area too.
Yeah.
And so we were moving those, and then so we have like kind of limited space where the network cabling is currently at. And so by moving and consolidating the desk space, we could move where the self-checkouts are, where the centralized desk is. There, those would be the computers.
Right.
You know, we have some space and we got funding from the Friends and Foundation for computers,
Mhm.
tables and everything like that. So we do have stuff on our wish list for new computer furniture. With that, so we have to do our desk and new books, and then we can move the computers. And then at that same time, then we move in and then we can update the teen area. And like I was saying with Andrea, one thing that I know some libraries have done in areas like this is say like priority seating during these hours.
Yeah, something like.
Because what ends up happening is that, you know, the teens, there are people that are here all day. And the teens come in after school and somebody has already like parked all of their, you know, their belongings or their things there. And the teens are coming in and then they're looking for, I mean, I'll see it too, like they're looking for comfortable seating. They're looking for spaces that are semi-private.
Yeah.
They're looking for collaborative spaces. So you have to provide like a number of different kind of zones within that zone. So I think we have to absorb that kind of computer space, right?
Yeah.
And then not focus so much on like public PCs for them, but like we've talked about gaming or other things that they might enjoy in that space.
Laptops like at the
Yeah.
check, you go to the counter and check one out or something. like
Yeah,
that.
I think
So they don't-
Usually they have their laptop with them, so I don't see that being a problem. If I see a teen like on the computer, they're either like playing a game.
Right,
something,
so it's
or
more
watching
that they
something.
just
It's not
don't
really-
want
Yeah.
the adults hovering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the privacy thing too. I mean, they are just right there out in the middle, and then there's the kids and then there's
Yeah.
the other areas. So
Mhm.
if it could be a more enclosed area, you think that would?
I mean, I
be
would love
helpful?
that if it's doable.
Yeah.
Oh,
So wasn't that kind of intentional that they don't get too separated from public view? I mean, I think wasn't that why they were put there in the first place?
Hmm.
I think yes and no. It's
Yeah.
for like visibility, but I think it's also based on our open floor plan and high ceilings, you're really limited with choices.
Right.
So a lot of libraries opt for like the glass windows.
Mhm.
And so then you kind of have the separate space, but you've got the visibility there. It dampens the noise. That seems to be like the best setup.
Right, but we're not set up very well for that.
See, what I'm thinking is, I mean, I've been here at times when we weren't using this space here for a board meeting, but other activities were taking place in here, but not every single time. So I'm wondering, I mean, it seems to me like having long tables like this and around the perimeter would be a perfect place for the teens to be able to come in with or without their own laptops and sit at the computer if they wanted to. And it's sort of private, but there's windows, so it's not, it's semi-private. It's like Kim was saying that a lot of places have put in glass walls. And I just look at this place and this space, I mean, and it seems like a natural for me when you don't have, like, there was was it a knitting program or needlepoint or something like that? So when you don't have programs planned for this, and maybe you could plan them around when Kim, excuse yourself. When a lot of the teens come in. Now I was gonna ask you, the typical age range for the teens, it's probably not the 18-year-olds. And I'm gonna guess that it's the ones that are ninth grade-ish.
So I have a lot of ninth, ninth, and I have a lot of sophomores, so 10th grade.
Oh, do
I
you?
do have a few seniors too.
Yeah. But I mean, I was thinking about that because for the last 2 years when I was in high school and the first 2 years when I was at college,
Mhm.
both during the school year and especially during the summer, I worked with kids. And they were the elementary school age kids,
Mhm.
not even the junior high age. But it just seems like such a great idea to have some of the teens that you're working with who are clearly older, but not, like 10 years older,
Mhm.
working with you said teens and then they do stuff with kids. I was saying, well, who are the kids and who are the teens? Teens are kids. Who are the?
Yeah.
And so
Don't tell them that.
that's why I was asking the approximate age
Yeah.
bracket, which is what I figured.
Mhm.
I figured it was the pre-16 when they get a driver's license group
Yeah.
of teens.
Yeah.
And if they could be, mentors and have positions of responsibility, and especially if they're getting internship and service hours credit for it, even if it's during the summer. I mean, I just think that kind of interaction is, it'll build character and skills and experience both for the younger ones and the older ones, the ones that are 14, 15.
Mhm.
So that's really nice to see that you have that as kind of an important component of all the stuff you do.
Yeah, I remember for my reading buddies, one of the regular families, I remember the dad had told me like, oh, how old do you have to be a teen reading buddy? I just told him to be around, you have to be a teen, so like 13, 12. Because I guess his daughter, who's been coming to the reading session, wants to become a teen reading buddy.
Not ready.
So that's the goal. That's the
Yeah.
goal. And that's something, that I think my teens, the way I see it is them being role models too for the library kids. And I want the library kids, once they're teens, to also be volunteering.
So a reading buddy reads to another child, usually younger.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
so they
Okay.
read, they read kids that are around 5 to 8 years old.
So they have to read materials suitable for an 8-year-old,
Yeah,
even though they might be 6 years older than that and might figure that they can read more advanced, let's call it.
The goal is so the kids who are signing up for the reading session, they're the ones reading to the teens. And it's just again
Oh.
creating that type of
Back and forth.
relationship and just kind of helping them again. And sometimes the kids are also very shy and don't want to. So that's where the teens come in, and if
Yeah.
they're shy, then the teens are reading to them. So it's just again, just creating some type of relationship, and just gaining more I guess, helping the kids gain more confidence in their reading. And one of the, I didn't include it in their presentation, but again, one of the regular families, the dad had also sent me like a testimony where he noticed his kid reading level has been improving.
Oh, nice.
So, and they come every week. They love it.
When you look in the library and you're looking at a book, and in the fine, tiny print, it says, say it says juvenile nonfiction or something like that. What does that label mean? For what age group is that
Not-
book intended if they say juvenile?
I mean, there's a number of different ranges, I would say, for juvenile. I would think what we find in like, we have like Lexile count and we have like age ranges, and that's where some of those book readings are on there. I think that's the publishers, the publishers
And
coming up with
reading
that.
levels really vary.
Well, sometimes they say elementary or, and it's clear, but
Yeah, but
the
there are
reason I
third
brought that up
graders.
is because I was looking through the catalog before I came here today. And I was looking in the area where there are a lot of sports titles. And I was looking at one or two of them. I was really getting really interested. This looked great. And then I read, juvenile audience or something like that. I thought, And so that's why I was curious what they meant by that. Not that I don't read, comics in the newspaper, which are at probably a second grade level, but anyhow. Thanks.
Do you work with youth groups from Pacific Grove or Carmel? Or do they have teen programs?
I know Pacific Grove does, and that's something too that I want to get more in contact with their teen service librarian. Carmel, I don't. From what
Well,
one of my
no.
teens told me, they haven't been coming lately, but they go to Carmel High School. And I asked them about like Carmel Library, like, oh, do you guys ever go? And they're like, no, there's never nothing for teens. So that's why they would drive over here and come to.
Right, I
our
feel like
meetings.
at one of the NCIP.
Yeah,
One of
it
the
was Joya
speakers was
and
from
Lee.
Carmel. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then there was also a boy who was
Yeah, so
maybe
it's
middle school.
Yeah, so it's Joya and Lee who they live in
Oh, were their
Carmel.
siblings?
Mhm.
Okay,
They are.
yeah. Cause you might invite the other groups to your
Yeah.
movie night.
Yeah. Good
Make
idea.
a party.
Uh-huh.
I would question and comment.
Oh.
Did they ever do writing? Wanna write.
I've brought it up in the teen advisory board. I'm like, why don't we just do like writing workshops or do like
Like a newsletter or something?
like
I don't
a
know.
contest, like a poem, something like that.
Yeah.
They always shoot me down. I guess their main thing, and one of the teens, again, the one who doesn't read, told me, they're like, Miss Andrea, like, we just want to come after school and have fun.
Mm.
They don't want to feel like they're in school.
And writing is like work. School.
Yeah, so that's how they feel at the moment. I don't know, maybe
But
in
if it
the
was
future,
right-
I would like to have some type of like like,
I was writing content for a social media. Do you have a page?
right
that's
now,
separate?
yeah, I do have a social
Yeah,
media.
thought so.
I'm doing it at the moment, and it is something that I want to, again, hopefully in the fall, if I could have another intern and work on doing social media. Like sometimes they'll send me like book reviews or they'll do videos. But I think the main thing right now,
The teens will do that.
yeah,
Oh, great.
I think right now they just want to have fun.
Yeah.
They don't like
That's fair.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, so it's your job to make those things fun.
yes.
So a great way to
Fantastic.
just make the place look special. I learned this from my kids,
Mhm.
Christmas lights. You really just hang up,
Yeah.
and that, that defines a space.
Mhm.
And somehow it's very attractive and kids love it.
Yes,
So-
I think
and it's
someone
really
has told me
cheap.
that too.
Yeah.
She always tells me Christmas lights and she always asks me for bean bags.
Yeah.
Those are the top
Yeah.
things that she always tells me for the teen areas.
So that can,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
help.
Do you ever have game tournaments like?
Yeah, so this I'm over the summer I'm having our 3rd annual Mario Kart tournament.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided to separate it. So we're gonna have a teen one and then we're gonna have a kids one because the kids also want to be involved. So the teens are gonna be from I think 12 and up, and then the kids 7 to 11, and they love it as well. Yeah. And again, the Dungeons and Dragons was really, really popular. Like I've never seen a lot of teen boys, like they loved it and the feedback, they want to continue. So hoping again, fall, we could try to
You're
continue
talking
that.
about mostly computer games.
For Dungeons and Dragons? Or,
I don't know,
I'm
I've
sorry.
never played.
oh, Dungeons and Dragons is like a I'm still learning.
Where you use
It's-
pieces and you move.
It's like a role playing,
You-
like a, how do I
You
say it? It's like a
describe-
role playing game where,
It's in person.
yeah,
There's different ways. Dungeons and Dragons started off, they're doing it in a group, right? In person, like
Okay.
the old way where you're basically, you have
So
a
it's like
dungeon.
role playing.
It's role playing, but you are a character in
Yeah.
this thing. And they do that. There are Dungeons and Dragons games which are online, which
Yeah.
are like that, but this is a group playing around a table, doing that for.
The reason I ask is that, there's this game that's it's a physical game. It's
mhm,
not acting or theatrical or anything like that. We'd probably have to call it beanbag toss. It's called cornhole.
Mhm.
And it has the wooden platform with a hole in it.
yeah,
You toss the beanbag from fair distance. And I mean, they even have it on ESPN, believe it or not.
It's better to do that outside than inside.
Well, it could be, but I mean, could be done if you had a long enough space, but it could be
mhm,
done in the back patio. That's big enough.
yeah,
Anyhow, just thinking of something like that that's physical,
yeah,
easy rules. I
yeah,
mean, anybody can play it. You don't have to be an athlete to play it.
mhm,
And like I say, we might just have to call it something that's more parent approval.
mhm,
But like I say, I was surprised they even have it on ESPN, national tournaments. I think the cornhole capital for the tournaments and everything is somewhere in the Midwest, as you'd expect.
yeah.
I would have thought Chico State.
Well, maybe people.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you for having
very
me.
much.
I wanted to ask you, how is all this publicized to the teens so they know what's going on to come?
Yeah, so I post on like our current events on Instagram. We have a team page and then word of mouth, like my tab group, they tell all their friends. I print out a lot of flyers. They go post them all over their school and they tell their friends. So I feel like that's been the main, it's really been working.
And what's
So-
the most convenient way for you if one of us wanted to get in touch with you and ask a question or, talk about something?
You can always come look for me or email me.
When
Or is
you're-
it you or is it teen? Like
Me.
if teens coming try to.
Me.
Yeah, yeah. you can-
So is the email? I don't have my reading glasses on.
I can get it to you.
Fajardo?
It's Osejo@Monterey.
Osejo,
So,
okay.
Yeah,
Good, okay.
yeah, please email me. I'm happy to answer your
So
questions.
that just like everybody else here, is last name at Monterey, is it .org now or .gov?
It all works.
Both of them work.
That's interesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well,
good.
Thank you
All right.
again.
Let's see if there's anyone. Hold on, Andrea. If there's anyone online, please raise your Zoom hand. And if there's no one else in attendance. And I don't see anyone raising their hand for any questions.
All right, then we could move on to the consent agenda. We have a few items there. Is there anything, items 2 through 7 that we want to pull out for discussion? Before we look for a motion to
yes, I'm
approve the
just trying to
rest?
see which number it is.
Well, we have 2 sets of minutes and then the activity report, quarterly library activities, statistical report and financials.
It's number 3. I just had a few things that I wanted to ask Brian to clarify that I was ignorant about. So number 3, I'd like to show out.
The
minutes?
the minutes from April 23rd?
No, number 3 is Library Museum Director Activity Report. Or am I looking at the old minutes?
You're looking at the old-
All right,
Number 4.
whatever, that's the one, whatever. Okay.
The activity report?
Number 4 it is,
Okay.
Actually.
in this month.
But it's.
Yeah, the one that talks about activity highlights from the end of March through the end of May.
Yeah, it's got
Okay.
two
Approximately.
pieces in it.
Great.
Anybody else? Are we happy with the other items? Yes, okay, then can I get a motion to approve items 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes, so we will move on from those and hold for discussion item 4. What was, what were your questions?
Okay, I have several things highlighted here. My downloading of them. And by the way, your concern about not being able to get the agenda. I emailed you, mine just opened right away perfectly, and I
okay.
downloaded, and highlighted stuff in blue and yellow and everything. Mine
did.
Uh,
Yeah, I was getting it, and I was having some problems with downloading the PDFs from OnBase that I was downloading. So it uploaded correctly, and then when I tried to download it, it was
Oh,
I
okay,
uploaded
it
it.
said maybe damaged or.
It was damaged also when I uploaded it to iSearch, it worked fine, but when I
Yeah.
downloaded it, it didn't. So that's why I redid the file.
yeah, I
So
just took it off of iSearch.
Yeah.
And
Right,
printed
that
it as a
worked fine.
PDF,
Yeah,
and
that-
saved it as a PDF, and then I could highlight and everything if I use the right plan.
Yeah.
So my questions are, you reported that you worked with a Ms. intern,
Mhm.
dealing with a public art policy and procedure.
Mhm.
Could you explain what that is?
Sure, that's Ariana, our intern Ariana,
Yeah.
who's been attending the meetings. And that was what it is. And right now, we have no specific public art policy for the city. We have a policy on utility box art, and we have a policy on our own collections. So what this is if you are, the city has asked, and this is part of the city workflow and council priorities, is if you are to create a mural, or if you're to do an art installation on city, inside the city, how do you do this? And so Ariana was basically hired as kind of as a Middlebury intern to do a graduate level research on how to create a policy. And so her and I've been working on doing interviews with artists, interview with art agencies, interviews with people like the planning department to figure out what avenue you go through. Because currently you go through planning department, and it used to be Architectural Review Commission, the ARC, which has been disbanded. And so ARC has been disbanded, and now the mural and arts would go through planning commission. But is there a way to incorporate where it's currently public art is identified in specific neighborhood areas of the general plan? And so that we could fit it in, so that's how does somebody in the public at a private business apply to get a mural or an art installation inside of their business in city proper? Because each city does something different.
Right. and are
Inside
those-
of their business?
Outside of their business.
Oh, outside, yeah.
So are those murals cataloged and considered public art? Are they defined as that? At this time?
If they're funded by the city,
But
so
if
this,
a private party were to,
then we don't catalog
but
them.
they must have to get
Oh.
approval.
They have to get approval. Right
Yeah.
now is a sign permit. Right now, if they're doing a
Ah.
permit, they do things like, so if you think about the mural, for example, that's on the side of Middlebury. And they have on the side of close to the McCone auditorium, there's a mural that they added right on there. That was done as a sign permit. And so they do a sign permit.
Museums at all.
It does not.
Yeah.
So what this is looking at, no, let's just keep closing out. Is trying to get this thing working again. Is it basically what is the correct path? Because when you create art that's visible to the public, even on private areas, you needs to be zoned for how you're going to do it. So that's where let me try to get this.
So if a restaurant wanted to put a picture above the front door, this would fall into that category?
Yes. Yeah. And so right now, let me try to get the camera. My camera's went off one more time. Have a seat.
So it doesn't have to be a building that's owned by the city,
No,
but if it's within the city limits, let's say, and it's gonna be visible by the public, that's the kind of thing we're talking about, and we would call, what if the restaurant owner says, this isn't art, this is just a sign that says, come eat?
And that goes to a sign permit for the city, and they have
Oh,
a sign
okay.
regulation. So
Okay.
the city,
Is a distinction.
there's a distinction. And so basically, another sign, for example, is if you go on the back of Andronico's right now.
Yeah,
Andronico's, that is a sign permit, is two or multiple otters on there, but it says Andronico's on top of it.
yeah,
So you have to, that's why we're gonna work with the planning department, because we have to define what is a sign and what is art. If somebody comes in and says, I want to
Yeah.
do a mural regarding this automobile company, is that a sign? Is that essentially a billboard, right? And so you, that's where you want to have a process to apply for it, to say what's acceptable and what's not, and then what route do you go through for approval? So that's the public art policies, working out how do you do that for temporary and permanent art.
are other departments within the city, besides the library, working on, or, you know, collaborating on a public art policy?
Well,
Or is it
once
pretty much our bailiwick.
we're working on it, but we're working on it with Kim Cole's Community Services Director.
Uh-huh.
That's what we've been connecting with, because Kim is there in charge of planning and building services.
Yeah,
So like, for example, if you're going to do a public art on your property, but it is a sculpture and a structure, you're going to most likely have to have the building permit to make sure that you have something that is structurally sound. Right? And so this is part of that. So we want to make sure it goes there. Then what we're going to do is we need to bring it through city attorney, and the city attorney to review it, give our examples. We've done research on cities all up and down California, and then provide that to Museums Commission, and then it would be adopted by council. And also we've met with the city manager's office as well.
I should I'm gonna hope that this would come under the purview of one of the commissions, boards, or committees that contains, you know, Joe Average Citizen and Mary Average Citizen, who are, you know, volunteering their time, whether it's historic preservation or whatever, you know. I would hope there would be a group, a body that contains publicly appointed,
Mhm.
not, you know, they're not elected and they're not paid, but that contains citizens as well in the mix.
Museum.
That's right. That's the goal, because right now it goes through planning, and the goal is this going through Museums and Cultural Arts Commission for review or what? So this is to look at that. Where does this, how do these projects get
Mhm.
reviewed? And so that is where the reviews, creating guidelines for the curating guidelines for what art is acceptable, or where to do that, and then how it's reviewed by an appointed body, and then ultimately
The
approved.
minimum requirements for getting said approval and all that.
Yeah, so this is where we're working on for that, because we find what we find is that I get contacted by, you know, County Arts Commission. They're saying artists don't know how to
No,
do a mural, or artists don't know how to do these things in here, and we want to make it a much more transparent process, in a policy that people can go to our website, go to the city clerk or the library and museums, and figure out how to do that.
I'm thinking of the big murals that have been painted on the sides of some of the buildings in downtown, Old Town Salinas, in the vicinity of the Steinbeck Center.
Sand City.
Yeah, all over
Sand City is complete.
Well, Sand City, yeah, I mean.
Yeah. So yeah, so those, they each have we've done a lot of research on each one of those. And as you mentioned, Historic Preservation Commission, because there are things, we are putting contingencies in there, because if you want to put a mural on a building, let's say the Larkin House, you can't do that. Because you have to do things, because it's a National Register of Historic Places.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So it'd have to go through Historic Preservation Commission. So certain, like, for another example of a sign is actually what they consider the mural, which is on the side of Alta, which is on the Cooper Malera building. That's actually a sign permit, and it was a mural because it had to be acceptable in design and
Yeah.
lettering, and what was on there, because that building's on the National Register.
By Adobe.
So we would have to put in, that's what we're trying to put in there, like certain buildings, if they're identified as either H1 or H2, and some of these things, how do those get approved? You know, which commission does it go to?
Yeah,
Historic preservation, and then go by design in here. So it's a.
yeah, well, I remember some years ago when I was on this board, and we finally went through all kinds of hoops and hurdles to get those banners that are on the side of this building that
Mhm.
face the restaurant, you know? And I'm just thinking to myself, sooner or later, they're gonna wear out. And what if we want to paint something on the wall instead of just replacing it with another thing that hangs?
Mhm.
I don't think this building, they call it historic, but I don't think it's on any register. But it's old and vital in that conceptual sense. But we would need to get permission to have
Mhm.
something printed on there.
Mhm.
I mean, painted or whatever.
Mhm.
Just like it was a heck of a time just getting permit to put a hook on the wall and hang the banner or something.
Yeah.
But, no, good. I'll just ask one more of my things I've highlighted here. You make mention of getting quotes for updating library help desk and new book and holds shelving.
Mhm.
I can visualize new shelving,
Mhm.
but what is updating the help desk
So updating the help desk is
likely consist of?
basically like a single desk, and we would have, so the holds would be on gondolas and movable shelving.
Yeah,
The floor, I think I've spoke about this before too, which is the center part of the library, moving that center part open to like the market, more of the marketplace. And so we have like the center where you have the marketplace of new books, holds, our computers, those kind of things, the self-checkouts there in the center for the most actively kind of used things. And the area where we have a floor plan, we have of the actual desk. Our desk was actually where the desk is, near where the staff entrance is, where the holds are right now. We would just have a replacement desk on there as well. And that was, funding for that was budgeted in the fiscal year from the city. So we have and then it would have an adjustable height, two adjustable height desks for the staff. So when people come up, we can adjust the height for either for the staff member or the person coming up from the public.
so staff who are on duty at any given time, if all this went, fell into place, would be located in the area that's currently that corner where the holds are.
Mhm.
And that's where reference questions would be
Mhm.
asked and answered. The general phone line that the public calls on would be
Mhm.
answered back in that corner.
Yeah.
And then the books that are currently shelved there because they're on waiting to be picked up by people had holds on them.
Mhm.
That and other stuff would fall into the center of the whole downstairs, except for the shelving right here.
Yeah, so like
Okay.
you'd have the holds and new books closer. We probably moved the self-checkouts more to where the actual staff desks are right now.
Yeah,
And then you'd have your holds and your new books right next to the self-checkouts also. So they're really like when people are coming in, they're grabbing their holds and they're just going right to, there. And it's just like, kind of like a direct shot.
Adjacent.
You want the people coming in and just doing the most active kind of things right there. And then what that does is then allows us that space to move over the computers, right? Moving the desk, because then we can move over the computers because we have all the wiring there on some of that space on those two walls. The two pillars are right there.
when people come to check out a laptop that they, I guess, have to use here, they don't take it home like a book.
Right.
Would they go to that central area, but the staff are in the corner now?
They would just go to
Thinking out
staff.
loud.
They would go to staff, yeah. Because staff, we manage laptops with
Yeah,
one-to-one.
so they would go to the staff that are going to be in that hold corner, let's call it now. And somewhere under the desk would be the laptops that
Mhm.
the staff member can check out. Okay. I was just trying to visualize physically the changes to the space that patrons would encounter when they walked in. And being married to an obsessive puzzler, I can't tell you how neat it is to see every time, and I mean every single time I've walked in the library for months and months, there's been at least one person, and the most gratifying is when it's a parent and a kid sitting at that low table and working on a puzzle. And because we've kept Amazon alive by buying puzzles. There have been a number put on the shelves there, and I think I maybe actually saw somebody at that low table working on one that I donated. which was kind of fun. But, geez, what a great activity.
Yeah, it's really popular.
Yeah, yeah. And it seems like all ages, with and without kids, with, so, good show.
Okay, did we have anything else on that?
Let's see, on item number 4.
Right.
No,
Activity.
oh, well, in the next portion of that, which is called Director Self-Evaluation Update, I have highlighted pretty much what you've already answered about ADA renovations, upgrade to library shelving, help desks. Adjustable desks and all that kind of stuff. You've already mentioned that, so that's the only, and mobile shelving, so you can roll the holds around, I guess. One thing in here is, outdoor spaces. Are you thinking about using the back patio for something?
If we get funding.
Good.
We don't have, we don't have funding for the back patio right now, but I mean, that is that is one of the things that I've talked about the city with as well, because if we can control the back patio,
Yeah,
and the walkway, I mean, if it's updating the railing and everything like that, I feel like it'd be a good time to update and secure and then have it open for other areas, like.
well, I mean, dating back to even pre, what is it, G4, what's that consultant report we got, G? Was it G? Even before that, I have been a vocal advocate of putting a clear dome over that patio. So it becomes both sort of indoor, outdoor. I mean, it's outdoor because, you're looking out, it's like a sunroom sort of thing. But it's indoor because it's enclosed, so you could be there even today if it's raining. And I think, increasing it to be a multi-use section. So anything we can do to start using that, well, I'm glad to hear about, really glad to hear about.
Yeah.
Great, no, that's. You answered
Okay,
my
and do we
query.
need a motion to?
Well, let me just make sure if there's any other comments or anybody online. Raise your Zoom hand, dial, I believe, *9 if you are on the phone, and I do not see anybody raising any.
To get somebody to come to one of these meetings.
Got one.
Yeah, there we go.
Whoa, he's leaving.
We're turning, oh, there you go. I'll see you.
So do we move to
Move to approve that item.
approve
Oh,
item
it's not an
4?
approval, it's a receive item, so we don't need to do
But
anything.
we approved, we've moved to consent for 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. We didn't move to consent 4 because it was pulled.
Right.
So we moved to,
Right.
you vote on.
I moved, that was you, accept that one
Okay,
too.
second,
I'll second it.
okay, thank you very much, all approved, or all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Hmm.
No, okay, so that's done. We are finished with the consent agenda then. So, and we have looked for public comment, there doesn't appear to be anything there, so we would move to item 8, first reading of the changes to the board policy.
Yeah, and thank you, Chair Delonge. And this is, as if you've looked at the agenda report, this is based on our discussions with Pacific Grove and Carmel, where we are meeting regularly with their teams and just trying to align our procedures, policies as much as possible, so it's easier for us to work together. And this is 2 parts to this. One is about there's a proposed edit to the library policy. One part about this, there's very kind of limited on there. And that's the first sentence: library cards entitled the bearer to borrow circulating library materials from the Monterey Public Library and added and cooperating reciprocal libraries. Because we've had, since this policy was updated, we've actually had Pacific Grove on there, and now we're adding Carmel. So we're just saying that in libraries that are part of our reciprocal borrowing will be allowed to use the card. And this is just a clerical update, in my opinion, right on there. The second part about the free library cards for California residents, and this is going to be consistent with Pacific Grove and Carmel. who are not doing an address verification. They're verifying an ID, but what that means is that often people will give you an ID and a address, and their address has changed from what their driver's license has, right? And so we're verifying their identification, but they may have changed their property, right? They may have moved somewhere. And so we tend to say, we get a piece of mail, like something that's a returned piece of mail for that. This would be not asking for that. There are some libraries that have actually started, we haven't gone to this, but there are some libraries that have started removing addresses altogether for fear of public privacy and information, too much information on catalogs.
Brian, can I ask you a question? If the sole criteria for whether we charge them $25 or not is where they live, you know, in the state or out there visiting for the summer or something, why wouldn't we verify their address?
Well, I would say, you know, we're looking at it.
That's the criteria, right?
Yeah, I will say the fee-based library cards, I think we've done about, what, 4?
I was just gonna
A
ask
year.
how many.
It's really like,
It's a low number.
it's basically, it's the fee-based library cards. It's really, so what we're trying to do is expedite like the larger issue for us is trying to work with the system of Pacific Grove and
Right.
Carmel, where we have
And-
hundreds of cards every month.
Right, and we've talked before about Carmel having so many second homes.
Yeah.
That they probably have a lot more than 4.
Right,
over there.
yeah, they have a lot of, Carmel has like at least 50% of where, you know, residents that are there just the summer.
Right.
And so, and then having their mailing address may be a PO box or something, right? They don't have the house address at this time. But yeah, for example, like this last month, we issued 328 new cards last month here in Monterey, which was an increase from before. And I mean, this is annually, how many do we have that we pay for non-residents is about 4. And so it's a really small number that increased to $25, but it is
Then
somebody.
it'll get smaller when you increase it to $25.
Right, well, what we get typically on there is somebody's just like, hey, we're here for
A month.
a month, we're here for a week or something like that, or a month. We do get a lot of the out-of-state ones that are coming in are often military families.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you don't want to really penalize military or students.
Yeah, because of
Right.
Middlebury, we get a lot of Middlebury students that are coming in here. They have international IDs or out-of-state IDs. And the families that are in La Mesa, you know, they come in and they're at the bookmobile or here, and you know, you get Georgia, you know, Mississippi, you know, you get all across the country for those addresses, but they're regular.
So for
Users on.
military, you don't charge $25 a month?
No, because they live here.
Right.
But what I mean is like often their ID, because they'll have like a military ID, and their ID is typically
Right.
driver's license and may not have something transferred into California yet.
Right.
And so then we
Right,
put
so
in
they
a,
have a PG&E bill or whatever.
right, so then we typically put on a block, and it takes up staff time. So it takes up staff time because you say, put up a block. Bring in your bill, the next time you come in, come to the library and bring your proof of your bill, and people forget. And 3 weeks later,
Right.
you know, they forget it again. So this is just kind of like simplifying that in terms of that. So the larger problem is, you know, the time, I think, with that of it. And the replacement cards, I will say, the fee-based back, your question, Trustee Petty, I believe Carmel does not charge for out-of-state cards, but they do want you to do it in person. And so this is just
They
because
do what?
they do want you to apply for the card in person.
Oh, yes.
Right, so they're
Same
asking.
with Los Angeles, by the way.
Right, so there, because a lot of libraries during COVID went to online, you guys may remember that. And then what happened is that ebook circulation skyrocketed during COVID. People got different things, and then your local residents saw a
Not-
increase in times, wait lists, right? And so that's where most libraries have gone back to basically apply in person, online, you know, or in person, rather than you can get your application, but you actually get your physical card in person. So we're consistent with
I think
that.
you have a good point though, where the official address might not be in California. So I was wondering, instead of identification, could you say and residency? Because you're saying, they might be, you know, their driver's license might say Georgia, but they're living here because they're studying here or something. they could prove residency in a lot of ways without it actually being a, verification or something. I don't know, I'm just. It really is, rather unimportant in the practical sense. It's more in the conceptual sense. That somehow verifying that they're a California resident, even if their ID says Georgia.
You're gonna do all that for $25? Is it worth it?
I don't understand.
But if we find out that they have to pay, we're gonna do all that work just so that we can charge those 4 people? It seems like a lot of work.
Well, then maybe we shouldn't charge anybody.
That would be fine. For just 4 people, it doesn't seem like,
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
have to have
I'll
a
bet you-
policy, but it isn't.
I'll bet you Los Angeles Library gets a lot more of,
I can understand, yes.
No doubt.
out of the state even. But they do require in person. I mean, Kathy and I drove to Los Angeles. And when we went to the branch library where we got our LA library cards, she said, you drove all the way here just to get a library card? I said, well, we stopped in Salt Lake on the way, but if a large library doesn't
Yeah.
charge, then maybe
Yeah,
we
so,
shouldn't either.
well, it's like, there's LA County, LA Public, both are different. I'm not sure if they charge for out of state or if they offer out of state. You weren't
Talking
out
about
of state.
city.
Was that?
City, LA City.
Okay, and but you were a California resident, so you would,
Sure.
right? So what I mean is that some libraries, back to it, is that we're offering it as part of the California Education Code, that's why we're offering it the free for that. We're following the California Education Code, which says that
Uh-huh.
we are providing it for California residents, students, people that work in California. We provide it for
Yeah.
free. So that's where that part right there, cards for California residents. So the fee-based library cards is just saying outside of that state requirement or the state, that we have there, that we would have a like the non-resident card. So different libraries all throughout the state do it differently. Some do not even offer non-resident cards. It's pretty common as well. So,
I guess I thought it would be more widespread for people, isn't really worth
Yeah.
knowing about too much. But I was wondering if it were large, is there, is there any, because somebody from out of state gets an MPL library card. And we get the $25 every single month. Is there any way to pool that with the 3 reciprocating libraries or any, I mean, if it were a big program, you would probably have to address that, right? If, if Monterey got all the revenue.
no, because it would be our card.
Okay.
Because each library is allowed to do their own card. So PG could have their own card and they could decide whether, but we would say on their revenue. I would say the one thing that we are looking on in revenue are things like reporting back on lost books and those things. We have to report back and separate
Yes.
those kind of things. But the fee is kind of like the thought of on this also for the fee for non-state residents is that, we do have like certain resources that are funded through California State Library, right? In California State, each federal government, IMLS, distributes funding to each state, and that state library then helps funds our ebook collection, a lot of that. So that's I think that's some of the thinking behind charging the non-state resident. And, if you were here 3 months a year or something like that as a Carmel or Monterey person that has a property, that's still your property, and you could claim that as your address. But if it's somebody who's just coming here to visit and, internationally or whatever it is, we would want them to pay for that fee.
Right? If somebody brings their MIS card,
Mhm.
student card, is that sufficient to get a library card?
Good question. Kim, what are your, like a student ID? I mean,
Yeah, we usually, does it say,
no, I don't think it says in here specifically. It should be in on our
It says-
policy.
oh,
Yeah, it says-
no, I think it says photo ID. So if it's a photo ID, then that counts as an ID.
And that would be in more of I believe that's more of our procedures manual that we have
Mhm.
like our when we have our,
Staff.
for the staff
Mhm.
procedures with like the acceptable forms of identification.
Okay.
Okay,
I just noticed, Vicky, former editor here, that under replacement cards, it also talks about address verification, so that part should
Yeah,
be changed too,
Yeah.
right?
right. Let me see that.
Under
the next-
B, replacement
page is
cards
that?
under.
Thank you.
if you look
Under-
at the
There you
next
go.
page.
Yep,
It
Yeah,
is,
26.
page 26, it should,
identification.
Yeah.
So
About
It's
prepaid
just-
card section.
1B, that's 1B under replacement
1B.
card.
The last sentence.
so
would be.
it's,
Oh,
okay.
it's just making it consistent.
oh, I see, they did.
Yeah.
In other words, line out address
Okay.
verification.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's-
Well, that one stuck out, right?
Good eye.
Yeah, no,
Well,
it's
it's
good.
struck out there, but it's not struck out
Right.
here, so that's
Thank you.
just what I was
Okay.
pointing out.
Thank you, trustee Silver.
Yeah, well played. Okay. So now we move on to item 9, the holiday closure schedule.
Yeah, so thank you. So I will mention a couple of things on here, just to highlight, so that is we have not received the holiday schedule from the city of Monterey yet for
Mhm.
2027. Okay, so I'm working off of
Yeah.
of what we expect.
Mhm.
And so to post this, and so I ran this past Kim and Melissa as well. And so you'll see some of these highlights in here, and then the Monterey Public Library Friends and Foundation do want to continue with the Saturday, February 27th. Their executive board met, and they want to do the Saturday, February 27th for chocolate and wine again. Our staff development day, we are looking at Friday, April 2nd.
Hmm.
These other the holidays are city holidays. I did highlight on here, we are expecting that most likely Independence Day will be observed on Monday, the 5th.
Hmm.
And was opportunity to either open or close that, so my recommendation is open. I mean, that's gonna fall into like how Kim and I's hours or Andrea's hours are on there, like how do we actually open the library that day, but open to actually, I'm acceptable to closing that day as well as Monday
You're
the
saying
5th.
open on the 5th, even if the 5th is being celebrated as a holiday.
Right, same way we do typically with admission day. So admission day, the city closes the city offices on admission day, and we typically stay open because we have Labor Day in the morning, I mean, on the Monday, and then people are not always aware of what admission day is, the California admission day. So we have typically been open on that day,
On Labor Day.
no, on an admission day.
Admission
Oh, yeah.
day, the ninth.
Oh, open, yeah, I'm sorry.
But that, I'm saying,
It's a state thing. I
That's a
think
state
yeah, national holiday, you might
Mhm.
have a little blowback on the 5th.
yeah, so I'm,
Yeah,
I'm.
people would be
Okay.
confused.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with closing it as well. This was something that I just wanted to highlight, which is Monday, July 5th, because we do not have the date yet from the city, whether that would be observed. And,
There's a mistake on the Christmas one.
Yeah.
Oh.
The Christmas
I was just gonna
thing,
say,
so
this
it's
thing
off.
is labeled and approved, which means a vote. And the
Saturday.
dates are wrong in the group of Christmas.
Right, that's what I just said.
And,
Yes.
yeah, right, that's what made me think. And if we correct those, then we are in effect making a new item.
Yes.
And we therefore cannot vote on it because the whole point of
I'll put on there.
having an agenda available to the public ahead of time is they can talk. I mean, it's a picky point in this issue, but the point of the thing is if you change
Yeah.
an agenda item,
Friday.
it has to be put off till the next meeting.
To Fred.
Or if it's a voting item, which is, as it says, approve.
Mhm.
Okay.
But like,
There's also more conversation to be had, given that they're Thursday and Friday. Because do you close Thursday and Friday and open Saturday and then close Sunday?
well, for Christmas, it doesn't even say Saturday, which is the 25th.
No, it isn't. That's
Yes.
what Marcia
Yeah.
was saying.
Yes.
Well, if
They're
Friday-
pushing
This is
it.
the
If
25th,
Friday is the 24th, Sunday cannot be the 25th.
right.
So
So-
Saturday.
You don't know.
Right, well, we can go back.
24th and
So,
Saturday,
uh,
the
You're not
25th.
gonna-
But can you make a motion? I mean,
For the dates they are.
well, you can make a motion
No.
to a,
Which one?
That's
The
corrected.
25th is
that's
Saturday.
corrected.
As
I don't
corrected,
think
yes.
so.
Yeah, that's what typically what is done, but I mean, we could postpone it for basically because of the the Independence Day, but typically at council, when they've done things on a motion and approved, they motion to approve things as amended. That's not, they
That's
don't,
fine.
Right.
there's not a, you
Yeah.
can't vote on something because it's not voted as specific. There's a motion to amend,
Mhm.
making a motion to approve as amended.
Right.
That's-
We've done that before.
Right, and so there was,
So
there is an error.
discuss this.
So I would say this one, what I could go back into on there, let me go into these ones just real quick, which is that Thanksgiving, Thursday and Friday are both holidays. So then, yeah, if this is correct, then what that would be is actually, if that is Thursday and Friday, that does help because I think I was looking partially, I was mixing up my days and I think I was looking at 2027 as well. Or a later year. So hold on real quick. Hold quick. Let me pull this
So
up.
that
We're
means,
still talking about
Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving. we're
you're
closed.
closed Thursday, Friday, and then open Saturday, and then close Sunday and Monday. Is that, I mean, some,
Well, Monday,
yeah.
Hold on.
Monday.
Park Day
Monday
right?
partial
We're open.
yeah.
And then
But you-
Christmas does, Friday is December 24th, and
Saturday is.
Saturday is the
December.
25th.
So that's
Okay.
when we're closed.
So it's Friday.
You're always
December
on Sunday
closed
anyway.
Sunday.
Yeah, so Friday and Saturday, people get the day before, people get Christmas Eve off. They get the day before and the day after their work. So that would be basically
Thursday.
Monday,
2026.
not the 28th. That's was, I was mixing up two.
Yeah, but we're talking about 2027.
So
So-
this should say Friday, December 24th closed, Saturday, December 25th closed,
Closed.
and then
Monday.
Sunday you're always closed.
Monday.
Yeah.
And then Monday you have to be closed also?
Monday staff would be also, so that's the word. So eliminate this, eliminate December 28th. So it'd be, yeah, I'll repeat it
Right.
just for that too. Thank you.
Right.
Friday, December 24th would be closed.
Right.
Saturday, December 25th closed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Monday, this is the one that we have to also
Be closed.
think about. Typically, that would be closed.
Mm-hmm.
But do we want to open on that Monday because we would have limited staff because otherwise we would be closed Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday on there.
We
Well,
kept
that's-
the library
It'd be
open
nice
on
to
Mondays
do that.
primarily because of school kids.
Yeah.
So if the school is closed, there's no
Yeah.
point in.
And, you know, like Carmel closes a whole week or
Right, right.
something and
Mhm.
we,
So I
we
would
could
be fine with that.
consider closing, just
Mhm.
closing Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
fine.
I think, yeah, so that would be more consistent with it. So I
Mhm.
think if we did that, like, so if we observed July 5th, that would be observed and closed.
Mhm.
And then we would have Friday, December 24th, Saturday, December 25th, Monday, December 27th closed.
Yes.
And Sunday, the 26th.
Yeah.
Well, Sunday's already closed, right? So-
I mean,
Sunday
Yeah.
closed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
26th,
so like Marcia said, that's 4 days in a row.
And then,
that's okay.
then the open hours
then
start on
we are-
Tuesday.
Mhm.
You're saying, closed on Monday, the 27th,
Mm-hmm.
but then reopen on Tuesday.
Yes,
Mhm.
So the 27th is a city holiday for everyone because Christmas fell on Saturday.
Yeah, so what happens is,
Observe it. I mean, they
Oh,
give the
because-
holiday on Monday because Christmas is Saturday.
right, so
Over the
basically,
weekend.
because it's the first day following the end of their shift.
Mhm.
And so it's like, if what happened, that was the error on this is actually, was just that I put Sunday, December 25th, it
Right.
should say Saturday,
Right.
December
Mhm.
25th.
Yeah.
But the Tuesday means that as far as we're looking at it, you get the first day, the day before Christmas off, you get the day, your first regular day of your shift off as well.
Right.
So that's where,
It's the Monday. right?
that's, well, no, Monday for people, Monday through Friday, Tuesday for Tuesday through Saturday folks.
Oh,
And people that are, if I'm right,
Is that
Kim on
right?
that.
Yeah, it's the working day.
Okay.
It's the
So-
working day before and the working day after.
So that's where people would be. That's where the asterisks come into play on Tuesday, because if we would have people, we would still have limited staff because there are Monday staff. You know, we have limited staff on Mondays typically.
Mm.
Tuesdays through Saturday, we have more staff.
Hmm.
So the thought is that I think we stay open on Tuesday because Derek, turn the volume on. Derek, turn the volume on. Tuesday, we would have the staffing available to potentially open it up. Even though a number of people would have that day observed as a holiday on the Tuesday, I think we
Still have
could,
it open.
I think we could still have it open.
The people that work, their shift starts on a Tuesday,
Mhm.
do they normally work on Monday?
No,
No,
They
because
have
their
Monday
shifts-
and Tuesday off normally.
Tuesday through Saturday.
No, Tuesday through Saturday. People
Tuesday
that start on
through
Tuesday
Saturday.
get Monday off.
That's what I say, so they don't work on Monday.
Right.
Right,
Uh, Um,
5 days.
and if they're gonna get Tuesday off because of this.
Mhm.
Could we ask them to come in Monday instead? No, because that's a normal day off.
No, because unless they give them overtime. It's basically, they get by their contract, the city contract, they get Christmas Day.
Yeah,
The day prior and the first day, the first regular day afterward.
first
And-
regular day, okay.
so they
Even
get
if there's a-
Christmas
okay.
Eve, Christmas Day, and then
Yeah.
a day before or after? or-
Well, a day after, but the reason I put down 27th and 28th is that we have a group of staff.
Yeah.
Who are Monday through Friday, which is Monday to 27th, which is a small
Yeah.
group. And then we also have people that are Tuesday through Saturday. So the thought is on that is that we would have less staff, of course, on that
Tuesday.
Tuesday. But my goal is to stay open.
But still enough to be open, maybe.
Mhm.
Exactly. And so that's why I'm suggesting that we stay open on the,
Would the
Tuesday.
number of staff remaining on Tuesday? Be comparable to the reduced number of staff that we normally have on Monday?
would be different because we have the part-time seasonal who work shifts on there, so we would have to
Well,
probably
it takes
increase.
some juggling, but I totally agree we should be reopened on Tuesday.
So to modify this, not just the dates, the plan now would be to close on Monday?
Yeah,
Okay,
And we changed,
how about-
we changed the Sunday to Saturday. That's the
Yeah.
modification.
and then also just if we are wanting to observe Monday, July 5th, do we want to observe that and close on July 5th?
is it normally 13 days that, I mean, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So-
13 to 14.
Okay.
It's been 13 to 14 days that we've been
Okay,
closed, yeah.
but that's not a hard number, so.
No.
So we are free to close that.
Mhm.
And all this assumes that we don't get permission to start being open on a Sunday. I
That's
mean,
not
we're
happening.
hoping we would.
Not
Oh, no, that's
happening.
a-
That's not happening.
Lonnie's not sitting there.
That's a
Yeah.
snowball's chance, I realize that, but still, it's based on the assumption that we're always closed on Sunday still.
I would think because Monday's a short day, to observe it would be probably the right thing to do. To close.
And yeah, other places of
everything else will
business
observe it.
are gonna be closed, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And also we opened on Monday for the school kids.
Mhm.
So the schools are closed
Right,
and,
doesn't apply.
yeah,
You
Okay,
haven't gotten the word yet, you said, but are you
but probably.
expecting that all of the city offices will be closed on Monday, the 27th?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because.
Actually, most of the non-public facing offices closed for a week, but,
Yeah, but I mean. Oh, like the
Yeah.
office where you go to get a building permit, for
Mhm.
example.
Yeah.
they
They're
won't
gonna be
open.
closed that Monday,
yeah,
even though they serve the public.
right,
Um,
right. Like Kim's saying, they're typically closed that last week to the
Okay.
public, and then we do things. The library is one of the departments
And
that
sports
typically,
center.
sports center, or
And library, or like the outliers, other than. the
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
First responders.
yeah.
everybody wants.
well,
And they typically work a
Mhm.
Monday through Friday schedule. Those people are Monday through Friday and.
yeah, there are no
community.
Tuesday through Saturday folks in those
Right.
groups. Yeah,
So Diane, maybe I missed it, but there was some talk about moving chocolate and wine later in the year to have
Right.
good weather, but.
yeah.
Not
it's
as-
weather.
Yeah,
It's
they
because it clashes with other people and they don't show up. Which is what happened this time.
They looked at the calendar of events and springtime gets really busy for other
Yeah.
fundraisers and other public events, and so for at least the next year, they also had an off year and would like to not shake up too much. Get a refooting.
Yeah.
Before doing anything, so they're still open to talking about April, but they kind of elected to stay with February. They moved 1 week later than it's generally been. It's usually been the Saturday after President's Day.
Right.
It's gonna be the last Saturday, so that in theory gives the
Hmm.
acquisitions people and planning people a little more time.
Mm,
Gives restaurants a little rest after their big Valentine's Day.
And what I've been wondering is, I mean, rather than move it to the spring and compete with, like you say, there are other fundraisers in the spring.
mhm.
If that means there are fewer fundraisers, per month or per week in the summer, why don't we do the summer? We'd
I
be
don't
like the
think-
only game in town.
I don't think there was any appetite for summer because
Huh.
everybody
People
hits
are
the
away.
road, people are away or not wanting
The
to
season's
work
not
on.
there.
Well, we get all these visiting library patrons from Georgia.
I know.
Well,
Yeah.
but you
I
also
was
have
just-
your
No, I-
committee is made up of families who have
Oh.
kids out of school and hit the road.
And it's not our decision.
Right, it's not up to us anyway, but I
Yeah.
think that their thinking would be that they
I was
have
just
lives
curious.
and they're not gonna work on something in the summer.
Weather'd be better.
Okay.
You could have it more likely have some outdoor venues too. In better weather, but they'll learn after another year in February. If they want to change them.
Right, yeah, that's what was decided for this year and.
We
but-
shouldn't be talking about it though. It's their choice.
Right, it's their
decision.
event, yeah,
We just have to say yes or no.
right, and we did leave it at early closure, even though they haven't actually decided what the hours of the
Mhm.
event will be.
Yeah.
It wouldn't go any earlier than it did, but it may move later,
Like it was in years past.
right,
Huh,
right, because there were some comments that, why are you giving me dessert at 4 in the afternoon? Run a 3 hour party and now I have to decide where to eat and it's already 7:30 and.
yeah,
So, yeah, there's some discussion about the hours, but the date.
I remember, what was it
because of-
before they started doing it early? Was it
was
6 to
7
9 or something like
7 to 9.
that?
It was only 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah, oh, 7 to 9,
7 to
okay.
9. And the idea was that you went out to dinner and then just came for the chocolate.
Mhm. Mhm.
We have a,
So do we need to read how we amended it?
Well, we-
Yeah, I
I
guess.
think we have a motion as, put forward a motion as amended.
Right, we would be looking for a motion to amend the closure schedule to Monday, July 5th would be closed. Saturday, December 25th would be closed, we're just changing the day of the week. And Monday, December 27th would be closed.
So moved.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
okay, thanks, Janie. All in favor?
Huh.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I'm just wondering, why is, I guess it's because we have to close part of the day. But if chocolate and wine is not our decision to be made, why are we voting on approving it for a particular day?
Because we have to.
Because we have to close the library?
We
Yeah,
approved the
city
calendar
needs to
and the
know
closure.
when a city facilities
Right.
have to be operating. Okay. Did we do it?
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
we got-
I'm sorry.
Well, we got one last thing, which
Yeah,
is,
We do move on.
and we'll just make sure if there's anybody online
Oh,
or
Okay,
attending via, by phone, dial *9 if you have any comments. No one's had any comments. All right, yeah, let's move to the next.
okay.
Yeah.
Next is, this may be a little early, but because it is quite a process. We did put on here to discuss the evaluation. Because we had to catch up when we found out we weren't able to move the date of it last year, and so it got a little punched. But there were like 7 or 8 dates on here that required, so we need a team. Last year it was Marcia and me that worked on it, and we do have some changes that we would suggest for this year in the order of things and how the surveys are conducted and who is surveyed. But I guess we just need to look at our timeline because well, we have to have this done by the end of September. But it's supposed to run through, I believe it's through August 31st.
And so,
We have last year's timetable?
Right,
Oh, great.
yes, yeah, sorry, share it though, if you want to take a look.
I didn't remember.
And
I
I'll-
think that we should have that, which you just passed down there, to, at least I would, to refresh my recollection of the sequence
I
of
just-
dates and what, and I'm assuming that as, it seems like years ago, it wasn't this way, but for the last few years, HR has taken over the staff survey process, part of the process.
That's the way the city does these
Mhm.
things,
Well,
yes.
it didn't do it, we didn't do that for many, many years. It was pretty much a new wrinkle for the HR to step in and take over the staff survey and compiling that data and then simply giving it to us.
I don't have that recollection.
We did it ourselves, and because I
It
remember,
must have been before my time.
could have been. And,
It's been a long time.
and then HR they said, well, no, we have to do that, and that's when it fell into their lap and they did it. So I'm just assuming, yes, it'll be the same.
Well, our role is to come up with the questions or the
Right,
and things
who
we want feedback
And who
from.
we want asked.
And do that part. They are just doing the mechanics of it really, of sending it out, receiving.
Collecting it and then,
I mean, because they have,
It's our survey and we did a lot of
Right,
editing
right.
on that over the past
yeah,
year.
they make contact with the staff. We don't have the staff.
Right.
Staff's
Yeah,
information.
but the questions come from us,
Yes, right.
so.
I think it would be helpful if we had all of that prior to the next meeting to go over and make notes, and then we can toss all our ideas into the same basket.
on this, which I had uploaded
Page
past
17.
page 30 under policy implications under C, which was,
Page 30, okay.
yeah, back to under the agenda report policy implications, which is that
Oh, yes.
there was basically, this was pointed out by public comment from Jim Thompson, who read the agenda report,
Right.
that to appoint and remove the library director shall be the department head. But to strike out the other part was, and any such other library personnel as may be necessary for the operation of the library program. Because as a reminder, the charter was amended.
Yeah, I wrote
Yes.
that too.
Yeah.
So just a heads up that we'll strike that on the next agenda
Okay.
item.
And you could even just say, the library director shall be the department head and supervisor of library personnel, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But that's just part of the job description anyhow, probably. So, yeah, I said to myself, wait. We X that out, but I would like to have the package of stuff to review before we decide if we're gonna change it or just rubber stamp it from last year or what.
Oh.
And there are several times when we meet in closed session
Right,
throughout this process as well. So we need to look at our calendars and see when, other than the fourth Thursday of the month, all of us could get together, right?
right. Right,
And if we had your timeline, we could probably come to the next meeting prepared to say, these dates are good for me and this one isn't, or something.
okay,
But I guess, this point was that be helpful to look at just even a kind of a rough month, because as you were just saying, Chair Delorme, we're looking at this last year in August and September, do you want to get an earlier start? And then we just propose some dates at this meeting here, or something for us to come back with at the next meeting for review.
right,
Well, I don't know how the board feels on that.
right, excuse me, and we do have time
Yeah.
to discuss that next, at the next meeting in
Mhm.
That's
June.
June.
Yeah.
And so what else would we want? We want the full timeline. We'll also need to discuss who's going to be the leads on it.
And a copy of at least the questions, like we were saying, it's our questions, but HR administers the survey to the staff. If there are any questions that we want the staff to not have to answer or to answer anew.
Okay, well, and
But-
that was just done by us.
Yeah,
last year. If you
yeah,
wanna put that
we-
to everybody about the
Oh.
different.
Yeah, we
discussion.
never, as a board.
No,
discussed
no,
that.
we don't, we don't. do
We
that.
never did. But
We just
can.
will agree on the dates and who's going to be the. I
But you
mean,
could get feedback from us or input from us before
the-
whoever
you're
does it.
That's fine. And the other wrinkle is that the board is, membership may change because two of us, our terms are up next month.
Right, that was also
And we
the
will
reason I
have a new
wanted to bring
chair.
this.
And the chair is usually the primary responsibility.
Right, and the chair will also change.
Right,
Yes.
right, and that was why I kind of wanted to get this rolling, because we will have a transition in July, so we'll want to kind of have a pretty good plan in June of what we want to do.
Right,
So right now, we think we're only worrying about the dates and, whether it'll be a committee or a grouping of a couple people or the full board. That's, I think that's probably a little cumbersome.
I think it's impossible.
Right, okay, all right.
Need to have the full board.
Right,
Well, the full board does,
Yep.
like when we have those,
The full-
closed meetings.
We're
we'll do the
contribute.
whole
The whole
evaluation.
contributes, but you can't have 5 people writing a document.
Nope.
Right,
We know that.
right. Okay, then if that is enough to, we can come with better details.
Yeah.
In June, okay, good. And is
Yeah,
there
this
any-
is just says to review
Yeah.
the process.
Yeah.
Which we just did, I think.
I think so. And I don't think there was anything else, so we would be able to move on to, trustee comments. Anybody?
Yeah, I had one, I guess it's a question of where are we on the advocacy thing? I just wondered, well, I know that we sent it back for something and I,
Right, we decided that we had the content that we wanted in there and that the design and layout of it would go to the design folks.
oh, okay, so
That
we
in the
basically
Friends of-
signed off.
Right.
We basically- it's
That-
off-
Well,
it's
the
off our-
Friends of Foundation will,
Friends and Foundation.
yeah,
Passed it on.
yeah, they'll do
Okay.
their work, but they are anxious to have something in time for their July board meeting, because Shannon would very much like to send her board out into the world with a finished product.
Right.
So
okay.
that is,
But it's out of our hands. We don't
yes,
have to worry
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
We don't-
And then my second question was, any news on the NCIP money they said they were gonna give us?
No, I've asked for a meeting from our engineering staff and I've not gotten a
Okay,
meeting time.
but we're pretty secure in that money, that at some point it's gonna come to us?
Well, it'll be fun. It'll be in, there's an NCIP. It won't go into like the city's account, into the
Right.
library account.
Right,
It's gonna be in the NCIP account, so it is
but
approved.
it's been earmarked. for-
It's been earmarked. for
That's a
us.
done deal.
Right,
That's the 700,000, is it?
Yeah.
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 And then try to figure out exactly what we can do with that money is
Yeah,
down the road.
well, and
exactly.
what is the timeline on the Pinetta initiative? Do we have a sense of when that might happen?
no, because I thought the latest would be October.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
but he's been announcing different fundings that he's gotten approved. I've noticed like he's done
okay,
some
they
things
roll
like,
out
he's
as-
been rolling out press releases of things at the wharf and things like that. So I don't know if this is something that it's going to the House for appropriations and whether it's being brought through different bills, but I'll need to get an update with their
Okay. Yeah,
legislature.
because if we are somehow getting twice as much money as,
Mhm.
or more than double what we were getting from the CIP, that changes the look of the improvements and engineering over there would want to know if they have twice as much money to,
Yeah, And that,
work with.
and that's why I've reached out to the engineering and public works team, because I said, we potentially have this other project, because if we do get funding from Panana's office, that typically does come with a timeline.
Right.
Right, and so what I was saying with that is that I'd like to discuss these projections, and I'd like to discuss timeline with you. Because if we do get funding approved by the federal government, they may say, we want you to spend this money within this period of time. And typically NCIP has had a backlog of different projects of 10+ years.
Right.
Of different, some get done right away, some are on the backlog. And so I was saying, if we get and that money doesn't accrue interest. So if you get 760, 770, you're at 760, 770, even if your project
On
starts
construction.
6 or 7 years later.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, let's get this on a timeline for that.
Right.
Is there a resource where we can look at, maybe we just need to look at the legislation that he's been proposing. But how, if at all, are they planning to change the usage of that area down there? They're talking about turning it into like a national park, right?
Are
Are you talking-
about the Presidio?
Oh, you're talking about Presidio, right? Not the funding. There's two different things I've working with Panetta on. One is the one that I've discussed before about
Yeah.
getting the $1 million towards the library in addition to NCIP.
Okay, that's what you're
That-
talking about now.
That's what I'm talking about now.
Oh,
The other one, the lower Presidio,
I was thinking the lower Presidio.
that one is when there's a link in the agenda report.
Yeah, to the
about-
legislation.
It's a legislation process on there. So
Okay.
that goes
Yeah,
to
so what
different
we're
committees.
saying is it is, if the NCIP money more than doubled, it would change.
No, I
Right.
was thinking lower Presidio, so I was
Uh,
on the wrong topic.
I also pitched to Friends and Foundation that if that happened, there would be no better time to look for major donors to
Mhm.
bump that up even more.
Mm.
If they could mount a capital campaign.
Yeah, once
Because
there's
of getting-
some kind of plan.
Right,
yeah.
if you got a little momentum going, you.
The library will close in 25 minutes. Restrooms will close in 20.
Are there any other trustees?
Okay.
Yes.
As Marcia said, our terms are up at the end of June, and after a lot of hard thinking, I decided that I'm not going to re-up or reapply. I guess we both had to reapply. I love Monterey and I've loved being on the board, but I'm just not going to be in town as much for the next year, and I'm not moving. I can't move. I won't move. But I mean, I've lived here 45 years.
It's long enough.
And so, no, but I am going to be spending a little more time in Carpinteria, so I figured it'd be better to get someone on the board who could be present more.
Could you join a board over there?
Oh, they have an advisory board, I think, but, and maybe, I don't know.
To stay connected to the library.
Yeah.
If you
Not
miss the
this
library.
night.
Yeah.
Find another
That way you
library.
don't break the connection.
Yeah, but I'll probably do a Jim Thompson and come to meetings and travel
Good.
around.
So we'll
and
finally have somebody in public comment.
Yeah, because you can always zoom in. We still do
Right.
Zoom wise, so
stuff. Oh, yeah, that's right.
you can be anywhere.
I remember me, I can't let go.
Well, we will miss you, you know.
You know,
You will come to the chocolate and wine,
Oh,
of course. Wouldn't be the same without.
Wouldn't want to miss
Under
that.
trustee comments, I just wanted to say how much I appreciated Andrea's presentation. Because whenever any staff, from director through the assistant librarian and all the rest, program managers, it is just very insightful for my understanding better what goes on, to hear them talk somewhat about specifics, but more in general, their overall planning and what goals they were trying to accomplish with their programs and what they were hoping for. And I thought Andrea's presentation just hit that nail on the head. And it was really very informative. And I guess I'm saying more the better of that type of thing.
Yeah, it's exciting what she's doing, especially considering that there was such
Well, yeah.
a gap. in
She was
training.
putting
Well,
pieces together to create a
Yeah.
larger outcome and everything. It was good.
I second that, and in particular because we were yelling, and screaming about getting a teen library.
Right.
And then to see her doing the kinds of stuff to, expand the team and get that advisory board going and really having people in the activities. She's so proactive.
Also,
Yeah.
love her
Wonderful.
enthusiasm.
Yes.
She's really,
Enthusiastic and
She's-
proactive and.
I know, it was fun to listen to her.
We're proud of
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
She's listening to those kids and
Mhm,
they're
absolutely.
Well, and she's
Here's
getting
the
them
guy.
involved, which is good
But
experience
she's
for them.
genuinely interested.
Plus, they have a stake in what occurs.
And training the next generation of library staff. right?
Hey, there you go.
And she's getting them, they'll all go and be library science majors in college.
Yeah.
we get that one boy to read a book though, just one book. Yeah, okay, anybody else?
And
No.
Trustee Joshi, you have any comments?
Well, I loved her enthusiasm. That's my comment. She's,
And you have comments?
Yeah, if that's in for trustee comments, I'll just give up updates from some of my staff. We have, we are looking at updating the bookmobile times at Casanova Oak Knoll
Oh, good.
and at Montecito Park. And I know that our bookmobile team has been in conversation with Casanova Oak Knoll, like the neighborhood association, and they attended the neighborhood meeting earlier this week to provide a survey on what times would work, but they were often only getting one person at the bookmobile there.
No, that's not worth it.
And so Casanova Oak Knoll has been asking us, consistently, like, we want you here, but we were saying, like, if we're here, we need to have the outcomes of being able to serve the community here. So we're reaching out to them and asking the neighborhood association to provide output, and also changing the time possibly, I believe, 1 hour for Montecito. So those are basically, we'll update those and update the neighborhoods about that. But we're just doing this in reflection of where we're seeing the public, and we want to make sure that our bookmobile is really well used.
Is there a place on the website that lists by day and hour
Mhm.
the stops that are being made? Okay.
Yep. And we link that bookmobile schedule in all of the newsletters too. When I write the newsletters, we put out a link for bookmobile at the bottom.
There's
too.
a link, yeah.
Yeah, a link on there to that website. And also an update on the Pride events. We'll have a table at Monterey Pride. The parade is happening on Saturday, July 27th. There, June. Sorry, I'm looking at Kim's notes. Sorry. Right. I'll update my thing here. Make sure this is right. Okay, let me make sure that's correct then. Because then, yeah, on Sunday, June 28th, they're planning the Drag Queen Story Time. We're looking at this in a partnership with Monterey Public Library Friends and Foundation as well, and looking for them to help pay for the program. And supported by library staff there, they're gonna have the RSVP, and then they'll send out all the information to people the day prior on the event. So they'll register through the website, and we'll get there.
Will it be on site
Yeah,
this year? Okay.
yeah, we believe so. And so that was the original plan on there. And then the Monday, there's also a morning program called Rainbow Rocks. These are some musicians from the Bay Area, play different instruments, sing about LGBTQ plus community and self-identity. And this is kind of a story time for younger kids as well. So they're doing a couple of different programs for Pride events this coming next month. So sorry, I said July. I was looking at 7/27.
And is that like it was last year in connection with a sort of a national recognition day?
Yeah, so I mean, there's the Monterey there's the Monterey Pride, there's Pride Month in June, so the city's gonna be raising the Pride flag. Like, I believe either tomorrow or next week. I know that came up. I know they're coming up and
Monday's the first.
yeah, I think they might be doing it early though. I thought they might be doing it on Friday at 4,
Hmm.
but they're putting up the Pride flag, and then they'll have Pride Parade on June 27th, and that'll go down, and then they go to Custom House Plaza. So we'll have a table there
Yeah,
with activities. And other than that, yeah, I think it's just been I'll just say their summer reading program starts Monday. So
Oh,
it's coming up quick and we've published the June and July calendar. So pick up a calendar at the desk, see all the great work that everybody's doing. Cause I feel like the staff has been doing some fantastic work and programs out here. Been really positive.
I didn't see stats on the locker use.
Oh, it wasn't on there? I thought it was,
I didn't see any numbers either.
I thought it might be on the quarterly report from Kim. Ooh, let me,
it just said it's increasing, I think, but I don't think.
Yeah, they
there's
use
any numbers.
adjectives like that,
okay. I thought,
increasing.
I mean, it's under, it doesn't have it broken out. It's on the stat report here under circulation, but it's just 142 at a month. So it's 142 items checked out last month
In both the lockers.
in both the lockers. And I can ask if we need to get those
The library
separated.
will be closing in
We can do that.
15 minutes. Please return any library laptops at this time. Restrooms will close in 10, and staff, please begin your sweep.
Okay, well, then if that is it on comments, thank you all, and we will adjourn at 5:46.
Thank you, everyone.